Good morning from somewhere south of Phoenix, Arizona. I've managed to escape winter for a few days and rented a Triumph Tiger 800 to venture out into the desert. Today's ride is a trip to the Gila Bend area and the long, lonely Agua Caliente Road that starts 25 miles north of town. On Maricopa Road, I saw this very messy nest. Just across the street were the residents. I think they're Cooper's hawks, but the internet will let me know if I'm wrong. The problem with staying near Phoenix is that I have to escape the suburbs every day. At least this 2-lane desert road has a few curves. And saguaro cactuses, the sentinels of the Sonoran Desert. Welcome to the quirky little town of Gila Bend. This gas station has taken a page out of the Sinclair playbook and has used dinosaurs to lure me in. This town is evocative of a time when vacation meant piling into the station wagon, though a couple of the motels have not survived. In the late 1850s, there was a stagecoach stop here, and in 1879, the railroad came to town. And this water tower was built in 1900 to refill the boilers of steam locomotives. Did I mention this town is quirky? Check out the Space Age Restaurant and Lodge, which opened in 1965, back when flying cars and the Jetsons were the future. North of Gila Bend is Old Route 80, which was once part of the Dixie Overland Highway, an early cross-country route that could be used year-round. This stretch has a surprising amount of green thanks to the canal diverting water from the nearby Gila River. That water is pumped out of the river on the right here by some serious pumps, leaving the Gila River looking more like a wash downstream. That background noise comes from those pumps. In 1921, the river was dammed here to provide water for agriculture, but the Gillespie Dam failed in 1993 during some unusually heavy rains and was never rebuilt. I was treated to a pelican air show, which was surprising since I don't really associate pelicans with the Sonoran Desert. The road used to go along the base of the dam, but in 1926 they started building this bridge to ensure that Route 80 would not be closed every time the Gila River flooded. And sure enough, in February of 1927, a flood closed the dam road for 6 days and washed away materials and equipment for the bridge project, delaying the opening by 2 months. It was opened in August of that year. I decided to go have a look under the bridge and found some nice sand to turn around in. The Triumph handled it like a champ. This bike has such good low-speed manners. Though it did feel a little bit harsh over hard edges. I saw there was a trail up to an overlook of the dam and wanted to get a better view of the dam and bridge. The suspension didn't feel super composed over the loose rocks, but I decided to push ahead anyway. But I didn't carry enough speed. Nope, that's not gonna work. Now I just need to figure out how to turn this ship around. This is how you're supposed to get used to an unfamiliar bike, right? Wiggling the bars can sometimes help scoot the front around. There it goes. I was happy to have kept the rental Tiger on 2 wheels, and didn't want to push my luck with a second attempt. I realized I could have just hoofed it, but apparently I had that go, go, go mindset at the moment. I continued north on Old Route 80 a couple more miles to the turnoff for Agua Caliente Road. It's a 43-mile dirt road that winds through the scenic Gila Bend mountains. It's a well-graded road, but you definitely wouldn't want to be caught there when it's raining. It is constantly crossing washes. This bike is perfectly suited to rides like this. Well, except for the inability to turn off ABS to the rear. The front ABS does a surprisingly good job in loose conditions. I was having so much fun spinning up the rear tire that I caught up to a very dusty convoy of four-wheeled vehicles. I can't see around it, and there's no use sitting in the dust cloud, so it was time for a quick break. Two old cowboys in a pickup stopped to ask if I knew what was going on because that was the biggest group of vehicles they had ever seen on this road. I really wish I had asked to take their photo, but I'm often a bit shy about that. Well, that certainly explains why the road is in such good condition. Up ahead is 4th of July Butte. And holy hell, the cowboys were right. There are a lot of vehicles out here, but fortunately, I wouldn't see anyone else on Agua Caliente Road that day, and I could preserve my illusion of complete solitude. I'm pretty sure this is 4th of July Wash. Remember how I said you don't want to come here when it's raining? Yeah, this road crosses a lot of washes. I stopped for a quick snack near the foot of Yellow Medicine Butte. These black volcanic mountains are very striking. Once past Yellow Medicine Butte, the road becomes much windier as it picks its way through the Gila Bend mountains. This part definitely has the best riding on Agua Caliente Road, and it offers views of hazy mountains along the horizon. There are a few climbs and descents, but nothing overly challenging. Once out of the mountains, it's back to quick, open dirt roads, and a chance to stretch the legs of this 800cc triple. I was having so much fun, I missed both turnoffs for Sundad. It's not much more than a dot on the map these days, but there are some lovely two-tracks that lead to some interesting rock mosaics. It's a bit more challenging than Agua Caliente Road, and depends on the condition of the washes too. It's always a treat to see fighter jets flying low, unless you're on the receiving end, of course. Here are those rock mosaics I was talking about. A drone certainly would have done a better job, but you get the idea. I saw some concrete ruins and went to have a closer look. I think they are evidence of some small mining operations that went on here, but obviously it didn't really pan out. I just realized that phrase comes from mining. This mini hill climb was not as rough as the one earlier today, but still plenty loose. So I'm here at Sundad, the site of an old tuberculosis asylum clinic, place where they let people hang out in the desert because they thought the fresh air would do them good. And the views are spectacular in every direction. It's beautiful here. Now let's go back down. Look where you want to go, Simon, not at the chaparral bush. Back through the mosaics. I've looked and I don't think anyone really knows who made them. This was a super fun little side quest. Definitely worth it. Ooh, tracks going up the wash? That looks like fun. I've always wanted to ride up a wash like this. It's pretty loose, but once you get moving, it gets a lot better. Turning around might be interesting. Let's not bury the rear wheel. Don't. Well, that was fun, though a lighter bike would definitely be better suited to wash exploration. More mosaics that I completely missed on my way in. I didn't really fancy eating dust for a while, but fortunately, the wind was in my favor, providing a nice clear view. It's still pretty wild to see all this green out in the middle of the desert. Here are the Agua Caliente Mountains. And a pretty abandoned looking ranch. It's pretty cool to see a hitching rail in front of the porch. I wonder what's inside. Nope. Let's get out of here. These black, rock-strewn mountains are pretty ominous, aren't they? am now approaching the town of Agua Caliente. There's a bit of a theme to this ride, isn't there? This 22-room hot springs resort was built in 1897. Unfortunately, the hot springs all dried up in the 1940s when the aquifer was completely drained for irrigation purposes. I found some old photos of the resort in its heyday. They even had milk delivered by donkey. This brochure is likely from the late 20s or early 30s since the Gillespie Bridge has already been constructed. My favorite part is where it says, "Except for certain chemical contents, which are unusually combined for the restoration of health and for the reinvigorating of a tired body, these waters are as pure as new fallen snow, and to drink them alone is a pleasure worth going many miles to enjoy." On the left of the road are the ruins of the bathhouses. It's really a shame that these hot springs have dried up. It's pretty warm out, but a dip in the hot springs sure sounds nice. I passed one of my favorite road signs on my way back toward Gila Bend. I've seen more trucks on these roads than I would have expected. It seems I have come here right after some infrequent grading. This is Rocky Point Road, and it skirts Oatman Mountain, named for the family that was killed nearby while traveling alone. 2 of their daughters were taken by the Western Yavapai as slaves to do menial tasks. They were then traded to the Mojave people, where they seem to have assimilated into the culture. The younger daughter, Mary Ann, died during a drought, but the older daughter, Olive, lived with them for 5 years until the commander at Fort Yuma traded blankets, a white horse, and threats to the tribe for her return. I am crossing the Gila River floodplain, and it looks like all of the brush on either side of the road has been wiped out by a flood not too long ago. Taking advantage of the nearby river are more green fields. A little farther down the road is an old adobe ruin. Ever since visiting Marfa, Texas, I've been drawn to this building material. It feels like it exists with nature, not in spite of it. Less than a mile away is Painted Rocks State Park, a pile of rocks with carvings from the last several thousand years. The animal carvings are from the Hohokam people who lived here between 300 BC and 1450 CE. The more geometric patterns were made by a hunting and gathering culture that was in the area between 7500 BC and 1 CE. Of course, you also have some carvings from travelers in the 19th and early 20th centuries before this place was protected. I probably should have brought something more substantial than a couple granola bars. It was nearly 2 and my stomach was growling. Fortunately, it was a pretty short trip back toward Gila Bend. And more roadside sculptures. I did say this town was quirky. I had a big ol' burrito to refuel myself for the journey back to Phoenix. This is a nice 125-mile loop starting at Gila Bend that takes you into some beautiful remote country. It's roughly 50% pavement and 50% dirt road. I retraced my steps back to Phoenix so I could make another loop the next day. If you're still here, thanks for coming along, and stay tuned for another day trip out into the Arizona desert.